The AFTD Persons with AFTD Advisory Council was chartered in 2020 to ensure that the valuable perspectives of people actually living with this disease inform our work. Today, members of the council are here to share one of their most important insights, that life does not end at the moment of diagnosis. You'll have to prepare and adapt and ask for help. But a good life, one with meaning and purpose and pleasure, is still very much possible. Our Persons with FTD Advisory Council exemplifies this idea every day. This morning, we are joined by the council's co-chair, Kevin Rhodes, along with members Dr. Seth Stern, Deb Jobe, and Amy Shives, and Mary O'Hara of the University of Colorado is here to moderate their discussion. And with that, I will turn it over to you, Mary.
Thank you so much, Esther. Thank you for everyone who's here today, especially our courageous panel, who will share with you how they are living with FTD and what they've learned about themselves and where they find hope. It's really been my honor to get to know all of you and watch you connect with each other with so much honesty and enormous humor. If you haven't had the chance, each of the panel members' bio is in the conference book. When we began planning for this event, there was so much we wanted to cover, but it soon became clear where we needed to begin the conversation. How each person copes with their grief and the experience of constantly learning to adapt and adjust their lives. While grief is universal, the paths are so very personal. So that's where we'll begin. Amy, would you begin by sharing your thoughts and reflections on your grief?
Thank you, Mary. Good morning. My friends and I welcome you and congratulate all of you for being here, even if all you can say about yourself is that you're upright and taking nourishment. My message today concerns grief. Here's a clue. You won't find a cure in a book or on the internet. We must each journey through many kinds of grief in our lifetime, of course. I will speak about some of my kinds of grief I've had in my life since I was forced to deal with my life as a person with FTD. Having been sent home abruptly from a successful career, I sat alone, experiencing panic attacks daily. My children, grown and not living near me, my husband at work, my friends at their work, as we were all of working age. So I sat down. Too much grief to comprehend. Depression set in and stayed with me. I felt alone and lost, really, really lost. I grieved my old ability to set a direction and act on it. I was uncertain in my judgment of everything, and I sat there and I grieved me, all alone. I had lost my community. My friends at work were very important to me. Some were very close friends. Their lives went on, working and living without me. People grow apart. I realized that my old friendships were changing. I was different. I didn't know why I was different, but I must have been. I was being treated differently. I didn't want to be treated differently. I was lost and I wanted something to be certain, the same, while drowning in my grief. Right here was my turning point. It is important to realize that all of us have a turning point. All of us have our own. I decided one day that this wasn't working for me. I got up. I gathered up what was left of me and walked into a local social service agency. Within a year, I was on their board of directors. Soon, I was working for their national organization, traveling, speaking, and advising them as a person with dementia. I have worked as a volunteer with the AFTD for several years. Here, I can use my old skills that I have maintained. I have meaningful relationships with people who share this disease. As a person who continues on this journey, I will tell you that my life is better as I work to grow. On good days, of course. Bad days, not so much. Grief is here to stay in my life. All I can do is to manage it as best I can. I hope you can too. Your turning point is out there. Watch for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. In the midst of the loss and feeling so lost, you found advocacy as being so grounding, and it gave you such certainty in this uncertain time. I wonder if anything Amy said resonates with any of the other panel members.
Amy, my experience with grief was surrounding not being able to provide for my family. As a result of this, I was focusing completely on my FTD and ignoring almost everything else. Losing my job just hurt so much. A psychiatrist helped me to understand yes, I do have FTD, but in spite of that, you can still live your life. Losing your job was due to your brain, not because of you. This really struck me, and I used this to deal with my initial grief and turn it into a positive.
Thank you, Kevin. Debbie, both grief and FTD can cause us to withdraw socially and start to isolate. And you've shared that isolation is something you've experienced. Would you?
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mary. And it's so wonderful to see so many of you out here. It just fills my heart. What happened to me was really an overwhelming sense of just isolation. I was having some problems. My husband noticed it about a year and a half before he finally said, "Deb, something is not right with you." So my journey started the diagnostic process and ending in a diagnosis of semantic variant FTD with cortical basal degeneration. I tried to go back to work. I loved what I did. It was a 33-year career for me. Sometimes I spent more time with my work family than I did in my home family. They were very gracious, but somebody with a cognitive impairment, it was not to be. So within a span of 6 months, I lost that job. I lost that work family. I felt like an entire part of me was ripped away. I felt raw. I also lost the ability to drive. I lost the ability to ride a bike. I forget so many things. I didn't want my own family and my friends to see what was happening to me. I wanted them to remember the old me. I feared that stigma so bad. The most difficult part of that isolation was sadness, pure sadness in my heart. But along with the anger and frustration that came with it, I did start to employ some strategies. to help bring that joy back into my life. I'm a very faith-filled person. I believe in the Lord. I turn to Him daily. I did counseling. I did virtual support groups. One of the best steps I took was contacting first the Alzheimer's Association, where I then became part of their National Early Stage Advisory Group. And then I found out about FTD. I found out about it, and I was like, wait, that's what I have. So I contacted the AFTD Association and advocate. I've met with state, federal legislatures. I've then done print, video, education, early intervention. What that did was heal that part of me that was ripped away. But it's not just that, it's the simple things. We moved back from Florida to be close to our one and only grandson, who's 4.5 and just adorable. But I also discovered I love harvesting and preserving herbs. My husband, John, has this amazing creativity and green thumb. He grows them, and then it's very soothing out there, that nature aspect of it. I also discovered I have an artistic talent. I couldn't even draw a stick girl. I was a numbers girl. And my sister-in-law, Lynn, gave me a adult coloring book and a set of coloring pencils. And I'm like, that came out of me? Really? And my husband could totally vouch for this. And it's soothing, it's calming. I do word games for my brain. I think my message is to you, although our lives have drastically changed, everyone with FTD understands that and have experienced loss, forms of independence. We are still human beings. We can bring value. We can experience life and bring joy. But most importantly, this is my story. Take your story, build your story, take your journey. And one of my daughter's famous quotes is, "You do you."
Deb, I just want to acknowledge the bravery that it takes to dismantle that stigma and to try new things. In your case, it was so healing to do those things. I wanted to ask if any others have found things that have helped them stay connected.
I have, Mary. Being here connects me. I'm an old teacher. Some of you can't imagine being on a stage, but all of us can imagine being on a stage. Old teacher, 30 years. I didn't use notes. I could do a 2-hour lecture without referring to notes. Now I read that small piece I just stated, and it's very humbling. So I'm going with that. That's a message that apparently I needed to learn. I've decided that I don't have it all together. Indeed, I don't. And that humbleness I've made it work for me.
Mm. Thank you. Seth, you have said that being open to support has helped you cope. Can you share what else has been supportive and has allowed you to experience life on your own terms despite the diagnosis?
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Seth Stern. I'm a retired OBGYN after 37 years and being involved with the care of thousands of pregnant women. I was diagnosed with FTD in 2022. In answer to your question, my recommendations are the following. 1, do not be afraid to identify yourself as a person with FTD. This will help improve people's understanding of FTD, as well as their desire to assist you if needed. In addition, it will provide others with better understanding if you are having trouble communicating, difficulty with memory, difficulty with motor skills, or involved in unusual behavioral events. 2, establish a reliable, caring support system. This could be a spouse, family member, friends, and/or religious or social contacts. You can also consider reaching out to different support groups in your community. At this time, I want to thank my wife, Lori, for being such a lovable, reliable, caring support individual in my life. 3, identify both your strengths and weaknesses. By knowing this, you could engage in those activities that you are better at. By identifying your weaknesses, you can work on improving them. For example, when I am having trouble with word finding or difficulty talking, I will first try to think of the word or something similar to it. If necessary, I will ask the person that I am with to help me find the word. Once I know the word, I then record it in a list of words that I have had trouble remembering. I have a different list of these difficult to remember words every single day, and that list is then repeated once a week. By looking at this list of words daily, it has helped me improve my memory of these difficult to remember words. 4, try to stick to a schedule. It allows you to be better organized. For example, at nighttime, I check the front door is locked, the back door is locked, and I make sure that the stove has been turned off. 5, it's very important to socialize, ideally in person, but if not, by Zoom, the internet, or by telephone. 6, exercise regularly. This will help keep both your body and mind strong. And 7, be seen or have contact with your healthcare providers regularly. Make sure that you keep up with your appointments, diagnostic testing or screening, and vaccinations. You should have a complete head-to-toe exam at least once a year, and this should include also an assessment of how you're doing neurologically.
Thank you. Does anyone else have advice that they would like to share?
I do, thank you. Seth, along with what you said, and thank you for sharing that, please, please, for each of you living with the forms of FTD, do not be so hard on yourself. Treat yourself with kindness. You are facing, and you continue to face, a life-changing disease and a different jury. Remember, forgive yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very important message. Kevin, I know you have focused your energy on what tools help the most with the difficult symptoms. Can you share ways that you've learned to live with FTD?
Thank you, Mary, and thank you to all of you that are here. Yes, I've identified some tools and some methods that help with my very difficult symptoms of FTD. Often, I have troubles with speech, especially when I'm tired or plain old having a bad day. I use these methods and are planning to use some of them when I need to. I chose to do some store my voice digitally, because when I'm cognitively taxed, my speech gets worse, and one day in the future, I might lose it. So now, while I can still talk reasonably well, I store my voice. The next step is then to choose an application that will speak for me. You can find a list of them in our FTD Toolbox, which is in your FTD flyer. What this will do now is while you are listening to a conversation and cannot talk, you'll be able to tap some pictures or type your response and have it come out of your tablet in your voice. This is important to me because I know in the future I will have some problems with my speech and I want to be able to communicate effectively. I want my grandbabies to hear my voice, not the tablet's voice. I had a really excellent speech therapist when I was first diagnosed. She gave me a bunch of tips that I still use today. One of them is when I'm having some speech problems, I will put my hand on my leg and tap my finger in rhythm. That really helps me to slow down and get my speech a little bit more under control. I can no longer organize things. Just ask my wife. As a result, my wife and I share our calendars with each other. That way, when she makes an appointment for me, I get it in my calendar and get reminded 30 minutes before I should be there. In addition to help organize my day, my wife will kindly leave me a list of 3 things to accomplish that day, and I can cross them out as I complete them. I get angry very easily, and that filter from my brain to my mouth is stuck in the open position. I use a method that we came up with. When I'm showing the signs that I'm getting angry, they are clear to everyone but me. We came up with a safe word, which is used by my wife and family. So when I'm getting angry, they place their hand on my shoulder and say the safe word. It's a very innocent word that's so much better than stop being angry or stop doing that. I do rely on some technology to help me when I struggle. When I'm under a lot of stress, my smartwatch will tell me to practice some mindfulness when my stress levels are high. In addition, if I happen to fall, which has happened a couple of times recently, my watch will actually contact my wife via text and tell her to call me. I have a great deal of anxiety from my FTD, and when I'm in a very anxious mood, I have some very simple methods that help me deal with them. I play music I like softly in the background in a dark room while trying to practice some mindfulness. It also helps with my FTD headaches. I pretty much have music playing all day long. When I'm out in public, I use pressure techniques, that is to lean on a wall, which looks completely natural, and it lets me put stress points on my body which help with the anxiety. When I know I'm going to have a real high pressure situation, I wear pressure clothes. I have t-shirts that are compression, I have compression socks, and I have fitted hats that compress my big head. On a different note, a friend gave this to me when I was diagnosed, and it means so much to me. I may not be someone's first choice, but I'm a great choice. I may not be rich, but I'm valuable. I don't pretend to be someone I'm not because I'm good at being me. I might not be proud of some of the things I've done in the past, but I'm proud of who I am today. I may not be perfect, but I don't have to be. Take me as I am, or watch me as I walk away. Lastly, my faith really helps me find peace. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I want to reflect upon the many adaptations that you each came to after appreciating you had to make a shift. This turning point shifted your focus on what you can do and what is still possible. And Deb, your comment about being kind to yourself, I think is so important in this time and in that process. I wonder if anyone else had anything they wanted people to know about this experience.
Yeah.
I wanted, go ahead.
Yes. If you're looking or listening to us today, most of you will think that we are completely normal, but we are not. In fact, it's not uncommon that someone will come up to me and say, "Oh, you don't have FTD, you sound too normal," okay? But they don't understand. They don't know how it feels. It's very lonely, and it's sad. It is very important that you realize that we have practiced these presentations many, many times, and that we all have days that are good and days that are not so good. In fact, I constantly tell people, and I apologize, because I may meet you today, and tomorrow I may not even remember ever talking to you. I may be able to speak to you nicely or properly today, and I may not be able to put words together or form sentences tomorrow. So people don't realize that, well, because I'm good today, I'm not so good tomorrow. On those days that are not so good, we may have difficulty with word finding, sentence completion, talking, understanding what is being said, memory, motor skills, and atypical behavior. Thank you for sharing in our experience.
Hello to the doctors, physician assistants, nurse assistants, and care managers out there. As a person with FTD, I ask you to look to the FTD for education. We have met with health plans, physician groups, and care managers to help educate them on what FTD is. As we know, it currently takes about 3.6 years to be diagnosed with FTD, and it hits most people between the ages of 45 and 60, sometimes earlier. These are not only the prime earning years for that person, but also the time when they have children that will now face a devastating disease. I simply want to ask you to help shorten that length of time. Also, please pay close attention to the people that come into your office with some kind of executive cognitive functions. FTD can be mistaken for early onset Alzheimer's, early onset dementia, or even bipolar disorder. And if you get drugs for those diseases, it can actually hurt the people with FTD. So how do we fix this? Educate, 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 and get your help with helping to diagnose this in a sooner time than 3.6 years. Thank you.
And finally, I want to share how much we truly appreciate our care partners and our caregivers. We know the sacrifices, I know the sacrifices my husband makes for me. He's an amazing man. I love you so much, John. I do ask, though, please have patience with us. Allow a little time for us to respond. When I struggle with the word, give me an opportunity to find that. And then if I'm struggling, ask me. That is probably one of the most important things, is patience and ask. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here.
Kevin, would you conclude our session?
Certainly. In closing, I would like to thank the AFTD for giving the Persons with FTD Advisory Council the opportunity to talk to you about our FTD. We have talked to you about understanding how to deal with grief, with isolation, with positive recommendations for FTD, and methods to deal with some of our FTD symptoms. To all of you with FTD, please understand that we are here with you. Our message to you is that we all have FTD, and we want to live our lives the best we can. Please realize that we all deal with our FTD in a variety of ways. Now, to all of you that have been diagnosed with FTD, the rest of the council, who I invite to stand up right now so you can see who they are. These members will continue these conversations right after the break in their breakout session. Thank you.